So I just recently made one of those purchases that I've been putting off for a long time because it's super not exciting, but it's only like 65 bucks. It is a sound blanket. I got it from vocalbooth2go.com. I think that's it. I'll leave a link in the description. And it's the VB70-G Producer's Choice White Black sound blanket with grommets. I know that's a whole mouthful, but why I'm so excited about this is because of how useful it is, not just for treating sound in a room, but for lighting. So this one has a white side and a black side to it. So you can use it as a negative fill where you might want to use a floppy traditionally to, create negative fill. You can use this instead, and I keep pointing because I'm using it right now for my key light source. That's like another demonstration. We'll do some lighting breakdowns here in a little bit, but you can use it instead of the floppy. You can use that black side to create negative fill and also treat the sound at the same time. So it's super useful for that. But recently I've been using it a ton as my key light source. I've been filming in a lot of really small, challenging locations where a softbox has just not really been that practical, and the sound blanket was the perfect solution for that. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to just show you how I've utilized this on set on a couple of shoots. And yeah, so if you're into lighting breakdowns, then cool, let's hang out. All right, this first one really leans into the challenging, really tight location to film in. So to kind of give you some backstory on this one, we were supposed to film in one area of the location, and it turns out that room got double booked. This was at a hotel, so we had to kind of change locations really quickly, and this had like kind of a culinary theme to it actually. So we went down to the kitchen, and they actually let us use the kitchen to film the interview, which it actually looked, it was way more on brand for the story being told, and it just looked way more interesting than the location that was originally set up for us. But the challenge was there was no room to put a softbox. Like the framing, we were kind of basically filming like in a galley, essentially in the kitchen, and just outside a frame, like there was a wall, like there was nowhere to put a softbox. So what I did is I used this sound blanket and used the white side to create my key light, and I just bounced a light off of that. So what I did is I got a C-stand, and I think pretty sure I triple bagged the C-stand just for added security and safety, and used some alligator clamps on just one C-stand arm and just kind of draped it overhead and kind of clamped the sound blanket onto the grip arm and just kind of raised it up and got it in the general area where I knew that the key light would be coming from. Now, the reason why I put the key light there was I had some light that I could kind of use as motivation for that key light. So if you kind of look at the top left of the frame, there's like this light bar. I guess it's like a heating lamp or something for the kitchen for food. I don't really honestly know what the purpose was, but it was pretty warm under there, so that's what I figured it was. But I kind of used that as the motivation for the key light, so that's kind of why I put the sound blanket where it was. And then obviously to get light from that sound blanket, you have to throw light into it and use that as a bounce. So what I did is I used the Amaran 300C, which is an RGB WW point source light, which is like perfect for the scenario. And I actually had it basically boomed overhead of the talent, and it was basically throwing the light over the talent's head, bouncing into the sound blanket, and then thus giving really nice soft light onto the talent's face. Now, I opted for the 300C in this because it was just a really challenging lighting scenario, because there were some fluorescent tubes that we couldn't turn off in the kitchen. I think it was like a safety thing or something. And because of the whole snafu of like finding a new location and figuring all things out, we lost like 30 minutes of setup time to be able to do this. So I didn't have time to flag that light or anything. So what I did is I just kind of embraced it and used the 300C and basically dialed the color temperature and a lot of green into the green magenta shift. I think it was like 0.8 or something like that, just to match this fluorescent tube that were overhead kind of behind the talent. And what this gave me was just basically matching light with the key light and that light that I could not control there in the background. But because those lights matched, that light in the background that I was matching to kind of became like a nice little backlight, kind of edge light for the talent, which helped with additional separation from the background. Now for the actual light fixture, booming it overhead, you make sure you're super clamped down. always to the right. And then I also triple bagged that C-stand as well, just for added security and safety. So I made sure to just add as many sandbags as possible to those stands to make sure those bases were completely secure and safe. So thumbs up on safety. So pretty basic lighting setup for this one. I kind of used what I had in the environment already to my advantage, and then used the sound blanket for a balance to create that key light. It's a nice big soft light source. It's giving a nice catch light in her eye, and I just really like using the sound blanket for a bounce as opposed to using something like an ultra bounce. That material can just be a little bit more specular than I like. Now it's really good for, like, you know, if you're doing a book light or something like that, but for just bouncing light for a quick setup, this material is just, you know, gives off a much softer quality of light than an ultra bounce. I don't really feel like you need to double diffuse it. I feel like this is a really good option for really tight spaces, and I think this was like the perfect use case for using the sound blanket. So I was using the sound blanket as a key light, but it's also very effective as a fill light, and we'll do another little lighting breakdown here in a second. But before I get into that, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Motion Array. Motion Array is a marketplace with over 2 million creative assets, including templates, footage, photos, graphics, music, and sound effects. I've been using a Motion Array for a couple of years now, and all the little like doodles and arrows and all that stuff that I've been using throughout this video, including the music, have all come from Motion Array. And it's super easy to find everything, and they have all kinds of templates, no matter if you're in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere or Final Cut Pro. I'm in DaVinci Resolve, so I mostly use DaVinci Resolve stuff, some stuff in Final Cut Pro when I hop over to Final Cut Pro for something. But they've just got a ton of different assets out there. And the cool thing is I can use those creative assets not only for my YouTube channel, but for my client work because of their super simple licensing. And that's just like something I really appreciate about Motion Arrays, because like I'm so busy. The more simplicity I can have in my life, the better. So when it comes to the licensing in Motion Array, I just know that that license covers me for any of my work. It doesn't matter if I'm sending it off to a film festival or a documentary or a client piece or a YouTube video. It doesn't matter, the license covers it, and that's just super helpful and just takes one less thing off of my brain that I have to think about and double check, because I know that I'm covered. Now, Motion Array is a subscription-based platform, so you can either pay monthly, or if you want to pay annually and pay it all at once, you get a little bit of a break of what that monthly fee would be. So you got a couple of different options, which is really cool. So if you are interested in signing up, then be sure to use the link down in the description below. So that said, let's talk about using this sound blanket as a fill light instead of a key light with this example here. So this interview here, I was actually really excited how this one turned out. It just looked really cool. It was at an airport, and we had all this glass and stuff behind us. It's just a really cool look. So basically what I did for the key light is I used the Aperture 600D Pro with a Glow Easy XL, XXL. It's like a big, like 5-foot softbox, and it was double diffused, and I had the space for it, and I really like using a big softbox like that because it just gives you a nice big soft source all on one stand. And I actually had that on a rolling combo stand because, again, we weren't really that limited on space. That wasn't a huge constraint, so I was able to kind of roll that around because, you know, the 600D Pro is a pretty big and heavy light, so if I can put it on wheels, then I'm definitely going to. Now, opposite of the key light, I set up the sound blanket with the white side facing towards the talent, and that served two purposes. Number one, the sound blanket actually helped treat the sound in the room because it was kind of like there was like a hallway behind the sound blanket, and I was just worried about any kind of sound traveling and creating any kind of echo. So I flew that sound blanket in as close as possible, just outside of frame, to help deaden the sound. And what that also helped do was actually create a little bit of lift on the shadow side of the face, just so it wasn't such a dramatic looking scene, because this interview was supposed to be in a positive light, so I didn't want it to look super moody. And then all those windows behind the talent kind of actually created like a little bit of separation, a little bit of edge behind the talent, and actually a little bit of scratch like kind of by their ear and their neck and on their shoulder. So really I kind of got like a 3-point lighting setup with just using one continuous light source. So that was kind of another nice little bonus there. So that's it on that lighting breakdown. I've used this sound blanket on a number of different interviews and stuff, and it's just so useful to have this in your kit because number one, it treats sound, but it's just so useful to either use as a key light or a fill light, or flip it around and you can use it as negative fill, where you may have, traditionally you'd maybe want to use a floppy cutter or something and just use that. But if you use the floppy cutter and it's not intended to boom overhead, then I would much prefer to use this sound blanket because it's kind of pulling double duty there. You give it great negative fill and you're also doing a little sound treatment at the same time. So that's pretty much all for this video. Hopefully you found it helpful or useful, and apologies for this whole thing. We just moved into a new place and life has been super crazy and super busy, but wanted to make a video for you. So anyways, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comment. I'll leave a link to the blanket in the description below. There's no like affiliate. It's just like I bought one myself. I don't know these people, but I'm glad I know they exist because I'm probably going to order a couple more because this is such a useful blanket. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you in the comments. Be nice. Have a good day, and hope to see you in the next one. Peace.